Alright y'all, so welcome back to another video. I appreciate y'all for tuning back in. Hopefully you're doing real well out there in reseller land. But anyway, here are those Jordan 3 cleats. If you've been watching regularly, you probably seen me pick these up at Goodwill that day. They were 10 bucks and sold within 2 or 3 weeks for 60 plus shipping. Alright, so I do have a Ross sale. I don't have as many Ross sales as I did in the past. And a lot of that's because I simply just don't go as much as I used to. And I've kind of talked about why. In just previous videos, it's due to just location, less time thrifting. So usually just invest that time at the bins. But these are those Zoom rotational 6s. If you're a regular viewer, again, these were showcased in a video probably about, I would say, probably about 2 months ago. They were 19 or 20 at Ross, and they sold pretty quick, under what, 2 months, for 75 plus shipping. So this is just a polo hat. It has the leather strap on the back, and I will pick up hats if I stumble across them. Usually they have a couple of rotations where they rotate the accessories, bags. A lot of times you can find even bras kind of laying in there, but I usually just look for small bags and hats. Found this one probably about 2 weeks ago. It was sort of dirty, so I kind of cleaned it up a little bit and just kind of let it air dry on my back porch. And lo and behold, 25 cents, and it sold for 15 plus shipping. All right, so these are a pair of Birkenstock sandals. And in case maybe this is the first video you've seen and you're kind of wondering why are the shoes in plastic. Typically, I plastic wrap my shoes during the storing process, and usually I'll unwrap them when they do sell just to kind of re-inspect them, and then I'll kind of put fresh plastic wrap on them. Then usually put them in a poly mailer if it's something simple, or a box if it's like some higher end shoes. But anyway, this is a Goodwill bins find. These are, I mean, probably less than 2 bucks, and they sold for 20 plus shipping. So this is probably one of my favorite brands to pick up that other people don't care about. So the brand is called Croft and Borrow. Usually not going to sell these for a ton, but they move relatively quick. And these are the cargo shorts. I'm probably picking these up for $1.50, $2 max. And in this case right here, these sold for 10 bucks plus shipping. If you've been kind of following along with me, especially in the early days of this channel, 21, 22, I talked about how I used to pick up, or back then I used to pick up a ton of slides. I don't really pick up slides a whole lot anymore. They just typically don't move for what they once did. So unless they're in almost brand new condition, I really don't bother. But the ones I do pick up are the Nike footbed sandals. These have basically kept their value over the years. You find them down at the bins, $1.50. Usually you can move them for 15, 20. I've sold some of these for even 30 bucks. But in this case right here, these are the black and white pair. $1.50 on the buy cost. These sold for 17 plus shipping. So there's quite a bit of sandal sales this morning, and it is basically spring. These are some Crocs, and I believe these are a women's 10, almost in like new or brand new condition. Picked these up at the bins probably about 3 or 4 months back, and they sold, I believe, last night for 24 plus shipping. All right, so here are a few notable items from the Goodwill bins this week. Found this Notre Dame football. It's a vintage sweater football. So here's the graphic in the middle. And the brand is Logo 7. It's a men's large. And I found this one pretty early. And I want to say my first trip this week. And so something like this probably pulls in, I think, comps probably between like 30 and 60, somewhere in there. I'll probably price mine probably like at 39 or 45, somewhere in there. And I've been finding stuff like this pretty regularly since I've been in Tennessee the last 16 or 17 months. On the surface, this is just basically a Tennessee Titans full zip windbreaker. But if you look closer right here, there's a nameplate. And the nameplate is from John Robinson. So my meter went up because I sold Mike Vrabel's jacket, if you've been kind of following my channel since I've been here in Tennessee. And so I did some research. John Robinson was the former general manager here for the Titans. I think he left a few years ago, and I don't think it ended well. I believe he was fired. But anyway, I only got, I believe, 60 or 70 for Vrabel's jacket. So I probably priced this one I don't know, maybe like 50 bucks. Typically when you see something like this, you think you're gonna get the moon for it, but that's just not the case. I mean, it's still a cool find when you can find a team issue or player issue, or in this case coach issue stuff. But I thought it was pretty notable. So I sold one of the jerseys that I talked about at maybe like 3 or 4 videos back. It was 3 Los Angeles Rams jersey. Looks like it came from the same family. So the first to go is the Todd Gurley. And if you can remember, there were 2 Gurleys. There was, I believe, a small and a medium. This one's the medium, 5'6". But anyway, 25 cents from the Goodwill bins, and it sold for 15 plus shipping. So I've never heard of this brand before, but I picked it up, I mean, because the brand was kind of catchy. It's called Richer Pour. Here's the tag. It's just a basic t-shirt, but it's pretty light. It's a Goodwill bins pickup, and it sold not for a ton of money, but it sold pretty quick. And again, this was probably really light, 50 cents probably max on the buy cost, and I got $9.50 plus shipping. So this is just a Van Sport polo. I'm sure you guys have probably seen a ton of these out there, these lower end polos. But I picked this up because it's Maserati. And on this one particular day at the bins, there was probably 6 or 7 of these Van Sport Maserati polos. Nobody grabbed them because you just look at Van Sport and just assume it's not valuable. But it doesn't really matter about the brand if you see prints with cars, employee shirts, anything that people could kind of have some kind of brand association with. But anyway, probably 50 cents from the Goodwill bins, and it sold for 17 plus shipping. Alrighty, so believe it or not, Old Navy is probably one of my top selling brands. I'm strategic with what I pick up. I kind of have identified what I can pick up and what sells quick, and so that's what I've done. This is a extra high rise cloud skirt. Found this down at the Goodwill bins, new with tags, and you just have to kind of know what to pick up, because otherwise you're just gonna flood your store and the stuff just simply isn't gonna sell. But you have to pick stuff up, test it out, and then just kind of move from there. 50 cents from the Goodwill bins, and usually it doesn't sell for a ton of money, but 50 cents into what, a $13 sale plus shipping. So these are a pair of American Eagle cargo paratrooper pants. They are a men's 32, 34. Found these down at the bins it's probably been at least 2 months, and so they finally sold for, I believe, 25 bucks plus shipping. Alrighty, y'all, so I need to run to a close. Got to get everything shipped quickly. Running just a little bit behind the day. Usually I am. This is my first day back home since I was sourcing the last couple of days, so usually running just a little bit behind on that first day. But anyway, this is where I'm going to cut it off at. I appreciate y'all for coming along with me. If you got anything out of the video, like it, consider subscribe to the channel. I'll catch y'all right back here on the next video. Succeed.
This might be all that I know. Think it's okay. I've got a long way to grow.